Hello YouTube! Today I have a Caitlyn guide for you guys for Season 14. And if you don't know who I am a multi-year challenger player, currently GM, known for playing Caitlyn. And I realized I haven't really come up with like a Caitlyn guide in a very long time. If ever, this is going to be like a kind of full comprehensive, but also kind of as short as possible guide. And so I am going to show you guys how I play Caitlyn. Okay, so why would you play this? Well, I'm gonna have some clips to show for you guys, but it's when you get to the late game, it's actually pretty fun. Because you get to literally kill people in one hit. This is kind of like the big pull, I think, for playing this kind of Caitlyn build. I don't really go the normal like Stormrazor or Static or whatever. I think it's like lower carry potential. Instead, I'd rather play to one-shot people late game. It's really fun. If you guys want to get to this is actually it's actually very doable every game, as long as you can have a stable laning phase in mid game. You can in fact get to the late game somewhat reliably nowadays. The Caitlyn's not that great in the meta right now, but we can make it work, right? So you really only want to play this setup when you can get good ulti poke mid game. Okay, and so what I mean by that is you can ulti a squishy target that they can't sustain up quickly. So squishy targets that can sustain up quickly would be like someone Soraka is healing, or Sona pressing W, or Nami pressing W. But basically, if you can generate income and poke at the same time in the mid game, then you should go this build. Okay. Indicators of you automatically winning the game when you play this build is enemy support is playing something like Zyra. You ulti her on cooldown in the mid game, and the game is just going to be 5v4 because they just have the base every minute. And other poke supports. Okay, so first let's just sprint through the runes and summoner spell setup. For summoner spells, you always take Flash Ghost against like certain supports that can flash CCU, like Maokai specifically comes to mind, or ADCs that have CC like Ashe and Varus. Cleanse is a consideration. Just know that if you do take Cleanse, though, it lowers your late game carry potential, because Ghost is very valuable in mid to late game team fights. Okay, now for runes, I'm gonna do an explanation, but these runes are pretty much set in stone. I would not recommend any variations. Okay, so first we're gonna talk about First Strike. This is actually not the most important rune in the build, but what it does is that you do extra damage when you haven't been hit, and also it gives you money based on that damage dealt. So Caitlyn has really long range, and usually when people step on traps, they get hit by a Q headshot. It's a classic way to get money, but not just that. You starting with headshot is also a good way to get that extra first strike bonus damage in. But the real usage of this in the mid late game is going to be off your ulti. Your ulti is going to give you guaranteed money when you hit a squishy target. It's going to be about, it's going to start at like 14 gold, and it's going to go all the way up to about 50 gold. And you might be thinking, oh, 14 gold every minute doesn't seem that great. When it gets to about 30 gold, think of it as 2 CS per minute. So if you look at your CS score and you're always wondering, oh, how do I get to 10 CS? If you actually have 10 CS per minute, with First Strike, you kind of have 12 CS per minute. It's actually kind of crazy if you think about it that way. Okay. Now, the other runes are actually really a lot more important. Magical footwear you need, because this build is based off of maximizing as much AD as possible. So getting free boots allows you to skip buying boots until after your third item. So we haven't really gone through the build yet. We'll talk about that later. But basically, this rune gives you 1100 gold. Essentially, this is what I want you guys to think about. This is how I want you to think about it. This rune basically gives you 1100 gold, because you don't have to buy Berserkers, Greaves, or even the regular boots, okay, until much later in the game, okay? And then minion demat is actually very important. Would not recommend anything else, because when you minion, the strategy behind minion dematerializer is okay. Well, what it does is that when you use it on a minion, you do bonus damage to that type of minion. So if you use it on a cannon, you do more damage to cannon minions. Use it on a melee, you do more damage to melee minions. And most importantly, if you use it on a ranged minion, you do bonus damage to ranged minions. Okay, so we're gonna use all three. You start the game with 3 of them. We're gonna use all 3 of them on the range creeps. so that when you hit level 9 with a ton of AD from your build and runes, you can one-shot the range creeps with 1Q. Very important, okay, for clearing in the mid-game, and also stacking your headshot off the wave. Again, we'll talk about that later. I'll show you guys some examples, but you will see why it is very important later, okay? And last, in this tree, we take Cosmic Insight, lowers your summoner spells cooldowns by a bit. Item haze, kind of whatever. Sure, item haze for Ghostblade, which is what we buy in the build. Sure, it's whatever, but we're mostly taking this because the other two options are not very good. And then in our secondary tree, we're taking Absolute Focus Gathering Storm every game. This gives you the AD you need to clear range creeps, and also unlocks one-shot potential late game. The later the game goes on, 30 minutes, 40 minutes, the more likely you will be able to one-shot an enemy ADC or mid laner or squishy support or whatever, right? Carry top laner, carry jungler, doesn't matter. You will find without the Gathering Storm Absolute Focus, you are actually missing a little bit of damage to fully one-shot them. Like you see in some of the, if you've seen any of my clips or some of the clips I'll show you today, if you will be missing AD if you do not take these, okay? And then for runes, it's actually a little bit interesting, but default is attack speed, AD, and health. The attack speed is for you need attack speed to last hit minions and push. The AD, same thing, last hit and push. And of course, the flat health is for laning phase. You can take scaling health, but I just default flat health. And I have been experimenting with double adaptive. Very fun. It makes your Q stronger in lane and makes your headshot stronger in lane. But you do have it's a bit of a pain to try and last hit on the tower, missing some attack speed, and might be a pain to push. But it's pretty fun. I would suggest you guys try it, see how you guys like it. Okay, so now that we talked about the runes and the masteries, let's talk about the mechanics. Okay, so we're going to open up the practice tool here, and I am going to show you all the mechanics you need to know. I may skip some here and there, so that probably not as important to know, but basically the ones I'm going to show you today are the most important fundamental ones in order to PvP as well as possible. Okay, there will be more. I'm sure there will be more that I haven't covered, that I'm not going to cover, but I am just going to give you the most important ones, the most frequent ones that I use. Okay. But before we do go over the mechanics real quick, I actually wanted to go over the build, okay? So the build with this strategy is always going to be Ghostblade first, because Ghostblade always goes in your final build, and it gives you an active. Remember, we're sitting on boots 1 until 3 items. So we want Ghostblade in order to be able to dodge abilities, and it gives you lethality, and it gives you AD, very important item. And then second item is going to be always Collector. Again, gives you lethality, flat AD, strongest 2 item spike, although Caitlyn's mid game is not very good no matter what you do. And then after that, we're actually going to go Lord Doms, because Lord Doms is giving you as much armor penetration and also gives you AD as possible. We're still trying to make our Q do as much damage as possible. And so basically this strategy is we're trying to make our Q do as much, Q and ulti do as much damage as possible until we get to our power spike. And what our power spike is going to be is level 13, because level 13 is when our passive headshot is the strongest. We'll kind of go over that a little bit later. But level 13, so headshot gets improved at level 1, 7, and 13, okay? So at level 13 is when our passive headshot is the strongest. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it for now. We'll get to that. But all these items are playing towards your Q and your ulti. Then when you're level 13, we want to have IE, okay? When we get to level 13 with Infinity Edge, with a passive headshot, that is when we start to enter the late game 1v9 one-shot potential. Okay, and now for our last 2 items, usually we have boots here. Our last 2 items is actually a flex between RFC and BT. So if they have long range like mage champions in the mid lane, and long range ADC like Jinx, and like a long range support like Zyra, Rapid Fire, Rapid Fire is gonna be our next purchase. It allows you to RFC headshot them at maximum range. It basically gives you a bigger opportunity to headshot these characters while being as safe as possible. If you don't know, RFC increases 1 one auto attack. It gives you 35% bonus range for one auto attack, and that one auto attack is going to be our headshot. Okay, and the last item is always going to be BT or RFC if you bought BT earlier. You buy BT, fifth when you don't need the RFC basically. Okay. But last, you always sell boots for BT or RFC to unlock maximum damage possible. You will feel slow because you don't have boots, but that's what Ghostblade is for, and Ghost. And BT, if you're wondering, it will give you a ton of extra damage, probably like up to like 70. It goes all the way up to like 95, essentially. Okay, AD, based on your level. That's why it's best bought late game and not early on. But this is basically the build here. And if you're wondering what do we do about the boots when you upgrade, when you finish the Lord Doms, then you can finish the boots. Okay, very important, because if you buy boots before the LDR, we are kind of not rushing to our strongest QR damage possible, and we spend 800 gold on boots. Okay, so that's why taking the free boots in runes is so important, is because we are using that 1100 gold we didn't spend to basically rush our third item here. Okay. Now let's talk about mechanics. Okay, so the mechanics I have written down for you guys to know is you need to understand how your headshot works, your passive works. So every 5 auto attacks, Caitlyn gets a headshot. What a headshot is an enhanced auto attack, and it's actually very important to know what this is because Caitlyn's normal auto attacks don't really do anything because Caitlyn has this special headshot. So what I mean by that is if you're looking to try and kill someone, you almost never kill someone with normal auto attacks. It will always be through your passive headshot or your abilities, like your Q, for instance. Okay, so it stacks more when you're in a bush. You get 2 stacks when you're in a bush. Wouldn't worry about that too much. Just know that you should look at this headshot counter here and count to 5. So I'm at 2, 3, 4, 5, and now I can fight. Okay, that's what I want you to think. So that's the main thing to know about headshot. And the other thing we talked about was it's strongest at level 13. So you're trying to get to level 13 as possible. We will talk about that when we get to the mid-game section of the video. But just know that you are trying to get headshot as often as possible and use it on a high priority target, like not a minion, for example. Now, mechanics. Next ability to go over is your Q. Now, your Q is basically a long range skill shot with a delay. Okay, so it's extremely long range and has an extremely long delay. Basically, when you use Q, you are rooting yourself for about 1 second. Okay, maybe slightly less than a second, but it's a very long time to root yourself. So when you use it and you miss, it's not only like bad because you missed a skill shot, you're missing damage, like Ezreal Q. Missing Ezreal Q is not very good. It's double bad because you stunned yourself. So Ezreal Q, you don't really stun yourself. Caitlyn Q, you actually stun yourself. You are preventing yourself from putting down traps or stacking headshot or having like a net option. Like it's really bad when you miss. Okay, so you cannot miss this ability. Very important. Very important. Now, there's another thing to note is that it actually does half damage, essentially half damage, when you are hitting something. It does full damage to the first target and half damage to all targets behind, right? So if you see, it will do full damage to this guy and half damage to the target behind. And it does like widen up after you hit the first target. The AoE does widen up a little bit. So pretty much only useful when it comes to like laning phase, you're shooting Q through minions, trying to poke. But just know that the important part is it does less damage if your primary target is being hit second. Okay. Now, special thing about Q, you can do full damage to someone in the back if they are trapped. It will do full damage to any trapped targets. Okay, very important. So when you trap someone, I want you guys to Q first. Okay, you hear the sound, they get trapped, Q them immediately. Okay, and there's actually order of operations here. Order of operations matter. If you headshot first and then Q, there's actually a high chance that they will either walk or dash or flash out of your Q. Extremely high. And it becomes guaranteed when they have merc traits. Okay, so anytime you trap someone, you must Q first. Okay, you must. Do not headshot first. You must Q first. A lot of these Caitlyn abilities, you must use the ability first. Okay. Now another mechanic we can talk about is you can auto cancel abilities. If you don't know what auto canceling is, essentially you're saving time by okay. So every auto attack has kind of like a wind up, like a cooldown, right? You have a certain amount of time before you can auto attack again, right? So you can save time by inputting an ability after using an auto attack, because there's downtime between auto attacks. Why not use an ability, right? So auto cancel Q would mean you would Q immediately after auto attacking, right? Auto cancel W would mean putting a W down right after auto attacking. And auto cancel net would be the same thing with net. So one thing you can do is auto attack cancel Q, and the reason why this is so important is because hitting a full damage Q is very important, and if they're not CC'd, one of the only ways you can do it is by tricking them. So if you auto attack this person and then you Q them, the odds of you hitting this Q are like 30% or less. They're just naturally gonna dodge it. Even at lower ranks, they're just naturally gonna dodge it, right? So what you can do is auto cancel Q on a different target, and it's kind of misdirecting them. It's like misleading them. They think you're looking at target number 1 when in fact you're actually looking at them, right? So auto cancel Q is a mechanic to know. Okay, is important to do some tricks. The other one to know is Q flash. Another good trick is Q flash. So when you Q, you immediately, as fast as possible, flash to wherever you want, and that Q will always go in the direction. It will always fire Q like normal. Like this will never change. This Q direction, the angle will never change, right? But you flashing will confuse them, right? So if you want to hit this guy, sorry, I accidentally pressed ghost. If you want to hit this guy, this is kind of like a pseudo guarantee because they don't know the Q is coming. Like that. They can barely see a Q wind up animation, right? It's a lot more obvious if you just stand there and Q, or you just auto attack, stand there and Q. How obvious is it that you are aiming at them with a skill shot? But if you auto cancel Q flash, they have no clue. Even the best players in the world will have no idea what you're doing here, right? Oops, sorry, I messed that up. Even the best players in the world will have no idea what you're doing here. Okay, so Q flash is extremely important in the probably the mid game section when you have these items to kind of try and pseudo guarantee a fat Q, full damage Q. Okay, so that's pretty much all the mechanics we have for Q. Let's move on to trap. Okay, so for trap, you can actually the main thing to know is not necessarily mechanical, but like a brain thing to know. Okay, you want to trap on ends of bushes, so that when someone enters a bush, they will get trapped. Very easy. And actually, the most important one is on the edges of terrain. So what I mean by that is, look at this terrain here. You see that this is like a convex angle. I don't know if you guys remember geometry class, but there's convex angles and concave angles. Convex angles are ones that are like protruding, and concave angles are the ones that are going like inside, right? Like this over here. This is like a concave angle, right? Caitlyn's walking along this concave angle. Okay, so now why is this important? Why are we doing a geometry lesson? Because the game, when you move your character around in League of Legends, will make you path along convex angles. Okay, so if I want to get the dragon pit here, and I'm in this bush, when I click over here, I will walk directly along this convex angle, like this. But not this concave angle, right? You'll see, obviously, right? So if I walk over here, I'm not going to walk along the concave angle, but I'll walk along the convex angle, okay? So these traps in a concave angle will never hit anyone because the game will not path them on top of the trap. But the traps on a convex angle will always trap people because the game is making them path. So if I'm walking to the dragon, the game will always make me path on top of these traps. You want to put these traps in a spot where you have to make them click around it. It makes it extremely difficult for them to focus on the fight. And when they do that, you can actually just put a trap. If you'll notice, this trap, pretend this trap is part of the wall. Oh, this is a convex angle. I put another one down, right? And now we're building our own terrain like this, right? Now we're building our own terrain, right? So always put traps on convex angles, period. Okay, that's the kind of main trap tip I have for you guys. Edges of bushes and convex angles. So this would be perfect, for example. These are all amazing traps. They will always path into it, especially if they don't have vision. But even if they do have vision, then they have to walk in an awkward in an awkward way, click in an awkward way to avoid these, right? You know, they're kiting, that the kite in and around it is extremely difficult. You know what I'm talking about? You will accidentally, even if they like see it the first time and like, oh shit, I gotta back up, they'll run into it, right? actually though, will happen. I promise you, it will happen. Okay. Now, we talked about Q first on trap. You know, when you trap someone, you must Q first, okay? So let's talk about net. Sorry. This Q first on trap, right? Now let's talk about net. So this net ability is very delayed. It's hard to dodge abilities with this unless you're prepared because there's a bit of a delay. You net in a direction and it pushes you into the other direction. Okay? Like this. I just realized I didn't quite explain traps. But for you guys who don't know what a Caitlyn trap does, it will root them. For anyone who steps on it, they will be rooted for 1.5 seconds. And you will get a headshot on the trap target at double the range. Okay? So this is a trap target. I can headshot them at double the range, and it does bonus damage based on your AD. So it's actually really crazy. Yeah, trap headshot is really insane. Even better than a passive headshot. Sorry, I may have glossed over that part. Okay, so let's talk about net now. Okay, your net has you aim in a direction, is a skill shot, goes in a direction. When it hits someone, it slows them for 50%. Yes, 50%. Slows them for 1 second. It's okay. It pushes you back in another direction. You are primarily using this to outplay your opponents and or create space. Almost never netting forward. Okay, almost never netting forward. It has a very long cooldown, 14 seconds. You max this last 16 seconds to start. To be honest, actually, you max. Sorry, if you didn't know, you max Q then W on Caitlyn. Okay, but it's very slow. There are several things to know with net actually. Okay, so when you hit someone with net, you actually get a headshot. This is a normal headshot, is not empowered or anything. A trap headshot is empowered with bonus damage, and that headshot is not. Okay, so first thing you need to know is that it gives you a headshot. Okay, the second thing you need to know is you can cast your other basic abilities during net. So what I mean by that is you can actually cast Q mid-net, like so. And this Q will come out of where you net it, if you do it fast enough. So I'm standing here on this dummy. Or I should put a word down here. Let me put a word down here. See? The Q will come out from this ward positioning. I'm going to EQ the same target here. The Q came out from that ward positioning. Okay? So you can actually angle this Q. You don't have to hit the same guy. You can actually angle this Q wherever you want. So I put a dummy here. I can net the target number 1 and Q target number 2. Like so. Okay, so that's one important thing to know with net is that you can cast basic abilities during it. Now, how for EQ combo, we'll talk about EQ combo. That is how you do it. Now, uses of it, I think splitting it is the best use case. Misdirecting in order to hit a fat full damage Q is very important. This is probably the best case. Obviously, if you can hit the same target, it's even better. Right? But just like we talked about telegraphing our Q earlier, you auto-attack this guy, you Q him. It's so obvious they will dodge. Same thing, you auto-attack him, you net him. He will always dodge his Q that comes out. Okay, so if you EQ him like this, they better be running straight at you or CC'd. If they dodge it, it's a disaster. Okay, so what I would recommend is if they know you're trying to hit them and you hit the net like this, I would actually not fire Q in the middle of the net. I would actually wait to see where they're dodging and then fire Q. So if they're dodging down, I'll go like that. I would wait to observe, okay? I would wait to observe to see where they're going because it's very important that you hit this, okay? And then once I have finished observing after the net lands, then I Q, okay? Because the net slows them for 50%, okay? Now, second combo to know with net is that you can use trap in the middle of net. Is pretty much the probably second most important combo to know, if not the most important combo. You can net in the middle of the trap, and the skill cap of this is the moon because you can trap anywhere in this range after you net. So most people you'll see will just trap directly on. Oh, and there's also a timing to it. Okay, I'll talk about the timing right after. But most people would directly trap the guy they're netting, which is not bad. It's actually the default use case, in fact, right? But it doesn't have to be. We can get creative with it, right? And in order to do this mechanically, there is a specific timing. Okay, there's a specific timing. You actually cannot jam E and W at the same time and expect it to work, because what happens is that the game will buffer your trap at the end of your net. So what I mean by that is this is the end of your net now, and then the game will buffer it. Okay, if you do it too fast. This is what it looks like. I did it too fast. That's what it looks like. It looks terrible, right? You want the trap to come out in the middle of your net. So how do we do that? The instant this net leaves your body, then you can trap. Like that, okay? When that net leaves your body and you're flying midair, then you can trap in the middle of your net. There's actually very specific timing. It's like 1/3 of a second to 1/5 of a second. But it's actually a very important timing because most people, it's not the same as EQ. EQ just do it as soon as possible, right? EQ just going as soon as possible, right? Technically not true. Technically not true. We can talk about that a little bit later. There are some fringe cases where if you use flash with net, it's a little bit fucked up. You should actually practice 0.3 second timing with Q as well. I'm not gonna lie. Because when it comes to flash, your net actually gets fucked up. We're not at that part yet. Okay, that's a little bit more advanced. Yeah, just practice this 0.3 second timing right after your net in order to cast basic abilities. Okay, so you net, and the net comes out, you trap. Okay, now what I want you to practice is not only targeting the same guy, because yes, you can put the trap down in front of them so that when they're running at you, they will run in front of it. Very good. S tier combo, by the way. You can trap at convex angles while you're doing this, like this. Sorry, like this. Okay, while you're kiting. Very important for kiting. In fact, here's a classic scenario. Enemy team is diving you, and you want to trap this convex angle we are running at. You net them, trap convex angle, they flash on you, they get trapped. They're like, when did you have time to put down that trap? Okay, very important. EW, most important combo if you cannot guarantee a Q hit. Okay, now, there is actually something to note here, which is when you're thinking of putting down as many traps as possible, right? Let me turn off the auto refresh. There is a 0.5 second cooldown on trap, so you cannot trap EW. You saw that, right? Because when I trapped and netted, W was still on cooldown after the 0.3 seconds after net when I wanted to EW combo, right? You cannot, in fact, W into a direct EW. It will not work because your W is on cooldown, right? So how do we solve this? Well, actually, this is what I like to call W and then EW. There needs to be a pause. So you W first, auto attack, and then EW. There needs to be a pause between your first trap and your EW. And for traps, always trap first. I would not recommend auto cancel trap because trap has a 1.1 second arm time. Okay, so when you're trying to combo with teammates, always trap first, then auto attack. And in a random fight, you can probably auto cancel trap, no problem. You can auto cancel trap like this, it's fine. But when it comes to CCing people, the trap needs to come first. It's very important, right? I personally always trap first before auto. Okay, I don't auto cancel trap, but you can. I always trap and then auto. Okay. It's also, oh, man, maybe we should just go through. Okay, I was planning to make this a short guide, but let's just make this like a full version. You actually have to movement cancel your trap. What I mean by that is if you trap and auto attack, if you trap first and auto attack, look how long it takes Caitlyn to auto attack. She's like stunning herself while putting down the trap, right? You can actually cancel this stun. You can get rid of this self stun by moving. Okay, so it looks like that. Okay, instead of just standing there and auto attacking after, you can cancel part of the stun by moving immediately after putting down the trap or inserting a movement command, reminiscent of Riven mechanics. If you guys know anything about Riven mechanics. So yeah, you must, when in doubt, I mean, you should always be moving after every action. So hopefully you guys are not like self-stunning like, and you're naturally like moving, right? But it's gonna apply to pretty much like any ability to make things smoother, right? You always want to move between everything. Okay. Anyway, sorry. Let's get back to our WEW combo. Trap. Do something in between, then EW. Okay. So if I want to trap these two convex angles in this bush, I will trap, auto attack, EW. Okay, and it was I trap first, immediately movement cancel, auto attack, then I would net this guy immediately when the net came out, 0.3 seconds after, I trap this spot. Okay, if it sounds confusing and complicated, it's because it is. This champion has an extremely high skill cap. So another example is like, let's trap this bush, and then I want to trap this, and then I want to EW, right? So you can put down like 3 traps, right? And it's just, you know, it's basically based on your trap timer. You just know, basically just know innate trap timing, in the sense that you have 0.5 seconds. So W, auto attack, then you W, auto attack, then EW, right? Something like that. Okay, and that will let you put down a bunch of traps very quickly. What else is on my mechanics list? Oh yeah, now we're gonna do flash examples. Okay, so you can actually flash with net here. I did not mean for this section to be so long, but you can actually flash with net here. So there's actually two net flashes. You know, with Q flash, there's only one. There's only one Q flash, okay? And if you want to do trap flash, there's only one trap flash, right? Only one trap flash. There are 2 net flashes. And it's because of the whole 0.3 seconds after net, you can use abilities thing. It's actually because of that. You can flash before that 0.3 second window when you net, or you can flash after. Now, what does it look like when you flash before? So remember your Q, when you fire it in a certain direction and then you flash, it will always go in that direction. If you E-flash, we'll call this the quick E-flash, and the second E-flash will be a delayed E-flash, like 0.3 second delayed, right? Delayed E-flash. The quick E-flash, the direction of the net will actually change based on where you flash to. Maybe the direction is not necessarily what I want to. Maybe it's not necessarily the direction, but the if you draw a line, if I net this target dummy, and this is the angle, right? This angle here, over here. If I flash to the bush here, the net will actually not hit the target, but will actually be at the exact same angle that I initially fired at. Okay, so let me give you a visual because it's a lot easier to understand when you have a visual. Like that. Okay, so the angle is the same, but the spot where it fires from changes. Okay, the spot where it fires from changes. So in order to do this one, okay, you must net and then flash within 0.3 seconds before the net actually leaves your body. Okay, you must flash before that 0.3 second window that we talked about earlier. If you don't remember, the 0.3 second window is after your net, you can start using basic abilities, right? Like this, with the W and with the Q. All right, just pretend for now that Q is 0.3 seconds, although technically it's not without flash. You must flash before the 0.3 seconds are up. Okay, now what happens if you don't? What happens if you don't? Okay, what happens if you don't flash before the 0.3 seconds are up? This is what happens. It's basically the Q flash. This is basically the Q flash. I can remember. The net will actually go exactly where you're aiming to and at the angle you're aiming at. And basically all you're doing is either dodging a skill shot or canceling the stun animation of your net. So what I mean by that is when you're in the air, you can't really do anything, right? Caitlyn can't really do anything when she's in the air. That's kind of a lie because you can W and Q, but you can't like move or anything. If you flash, you can in fact move immediately, right? It cancels the pushback portion of your net. And this is me flashing 0.3 seconds after I press net. And this is the EW timing, okay? This is the EW timing. Sorry, that was messed up. This is the EW timing, okay? And so, yeah, this is, why is this important? Well, you can net and EW. You can like EW, right? Maybe you can do like an EW flash, right? And you can dodge abilities while you're doing it. And also be able to hit them as soon as possible. There's another application to delayed E flash, which is a headshot auto cancel. Yeah, you can get 2 headshots like that. Sorry, took me a while to do it because it's not something we practice very often. Not really a combo you need to know, but if someone is not within one-shot range late game because they have BT or shield or something, a net flash, passive headshot, net headshot will in fact one-shot them, okay? So you can do something like that, and you can also cancel your net along terrain, like this, and fit an auto attack before the net lands for a headshot, auto cancel. Honestly, don't worry about these. It's pretty much dead mechanic for the most part without attack speed. And our build will not have any attack speed. So don't worry about any headshot auto cancel ideas. It's not something I even really use in game anymore because it just is not very good. So anyways, there's delayed E flash and there's E flash fast. Now you're wondering why do we need to know fast E flash? Is because you can actually go for an EQ combo. Remember the whole like misdirection stuff we were talking about? And it's really hard to hit someone if you're auto attacking them and then EQing them is so telegraphed. You can actually E flash to make it not telegraphed, like that. Okay, and you can auto attack someone, auto attack cancel your E flash, and actually aim this target. And so what you need to know about E flash with Q though, E flash combo Q, is you'll notice while I'm doing it, the Q is not coming out where it's supposed to, right? When we did EQ combo, the Q is supposed to come out from where you started, right? So if I'm sorry, let me put a word down here. Let's use this word example. The Q will come out where this word is, right? The Q will come out where this word is, right? But if you flash to this spot, E flash spot to this spot, the Q will actually come out after you are after you've netted.
I must always be 3 steps ahead.
Sorry, I didn't. I was doing it correctly. Sorry. Yeah, if you do it too fast, if you do it too fast, the Q will come out to after you've landed. If you EQ too fast, we didn't have this problem before without flash, so I suspect this is some kind of bug. But if you wait the 0.3 seconds I talked about earlier after E flash, then you can Q the way you want to, coming from the spot where you flash to. Okay, so I would always recommend practicing with 0.3 second delay on your Q. Okay, I would always recommend you practice the Q with a 0.3 second delay, not only to judge where they're moving, but also so that you don't mess up your E flash Q later. Okay, because it's very easy to mess up your E flash Q, right? You don't want your Q to come out late. That would be a bit of a disaster, right? So practice your 0.3 second timing in the practice tool, and you'll be fine. Okay, and for other like bonus mechanical ideas we want to talk about, always try and misdirect, which means don't look at the guy you are trying to hit with a skill shot. Either look in a different direction and then hit him with a skill shot, or do something else and like innocent, like, you know, like I'm not looking over there, and then you can hit him with an ability, right? You can also auto cancel, be creative, right? You can also EQ, right? Be very creative. Let's say I want to hit net EW on this guy. I want to hit Q on this guy or something. Like I want to net this guy, Q this guy. I can auto attack this guy first, right? So always try and misdirect your opponent. Let's go talk about the laning now. So when you're laning with Caitlyn, one thing you can do is count your headshots. So what I mean by that is you want to pressure your lane opponent with your headshot, right? But obviously, if you're waving the headshot around in their face, they're likely to not walk up to you, like when you have a Jin 4-shot ready. So what you should do is count to 4. When your headshot is stacked at 4, look for the minion you're gonna last hit, and you tell yourself, after I last hit this minion, I'm gonna pressure them with headshot. Okay, so when you're at 4, last hit a minion, then you get headshot them immediately, right? And usually this is very effective. Other laning tips is you want to try and hold Q for full damage. If a fight breaks out, like an all-in fight breaks out, and you do not full damage Q the enemy ADC or whoever guy you're trying to kill, you will do 0 damage. 0. Nada. Zip. Nothing. You can hit them with a trap, still do 0 damage. The whole point is to hit Q. I want you to think all your damage within the first 3 items until you're level 13 comes from Q and ulti. Okay, pretty much just your Q. Okay, so half damage, not acceptable. Okay, so think of net and trap as tools to help you land a full damage Q. If you do not land a full damage Q, you did not successfully, you did not fight successfully. Okay, you must hit full damage Q. Now, if there's not like a full-on fight going on and you guys are just pushing and poking, you can Q through minions to hit people trying to last hit. It will do half damage, but it's still a relevant poke depending on matchup. Let's say you are playing with Xerath, then maybe hitting full damage Q is not as relevant, and maybe you want to just poke them through hitting them through minions. In laning phase, you also can try and limit enemy support's movement by trapping the ends of bushes, like so. And oftentimes, if it's not warded, they will just walk straight onto it, in which case you can just immediately Q, then headshot them, right? And also this is kind of a convex angle with the wall next to it, right? You always want to build on convex angles along terrain, and these bushes are the perfect spot for it. Other really good traps in lane are in the middle of the minion wave on their range creeps, so then you can push them. You can consider range creeps as a wall, a temporary wall as well, but also next to towers. So this is a spot, a common spot people like to walk through. You can actually put a trap there, and if they're in front of this, they're gonna be trapped and have to run around their entire tower to get to safety. Right, other traps, you can put invisible traps behind this tower, right? You can see there is a trap behind the tower, but normal camera vision angle, they can't tell. So oftentimes they're walking back and forth, the game will make them path on this trap. And of course, next to the tower is always good, right? Convex angle, the tower is a wall, I guess, a structure blocking, and it is a convex angle you want to build along that, right? That's for the blue side. If we're a red side here, and for red side, then it's going to be like in front of the tower, right? In front of the tower, behind the tower. And this is the invisible trap here next to the tower. You can see if we move this camera angle next to the tower and on this side. Basically, any traps along the tower and you're doing good, okay? And you can even extend this wall, right? We can even extend this wall like this, right? We can extend the wall like this, okay? So anything you can do to pressure them off minions is going to be really good with traps, just making your movement really uncomfortable. And then the instant they step on one, it's a Q headshot punish, really good. Okay, that's why it's also important to not just randomly waste Q, is because if they do step on a trap, you need to be able to punish with full damage Q. Okay, and then other lane chicks, you can go for EW and stuff like that, but mostly you can use as net to trade. You can in fact use net to trade. They buff net base damage. Often you'll see this at level 2, but remember, the net is to set up your Q. The net trade itself is not very strong because your headshot is at its weakest in the early game. Remember, a headshot becomes a real play at level 13. I want you to remember, this is your magic number for Caitlyn. You're basically casted in level 16, except it's Caitlyn level 13. Okay, that's the magic number. Okay, so you can net trade. It just won't be as strong as you would like. Okay, I want you to think net and trap are tools used to getting full damage Q, if not just for escaping. Okay, and the game plan for lane usually is to just push, poke the closest guy with headshot on Q, and you play to bait the enemy jungle gank with your summoners. Okay, your goal is to waste the enemy jungle's time, and if you have to use flash and ghost, you do, right? Let's say enemy is Zen, he's dashing on you, you can just flash, right? Or you can net him or trap yourself and then net him, right? Trap yourself is extremely good, and trap net him, right? You can also trap the jungle gank path, right? With your traps, makes it harder for them to gank you. And lane is basically won when you can bait enemy jungle successfully without dying, and or dive successfully because you poke them enough and then you just kill them on the tower. Or maybe you can't get anything done in lane, but you've pushed and your support roams mid and wins the map. So this is essentially your goal in laning phase as Caitlyn, is to achieve one of these goals. If not all three, that would be amazing. You probably just win the game if you achieve all three, and of course while getting your CS, right? You don't want to be missing random minions in lane. Okay, now tips to help you do this: always play around your level 2 and level 3. So level 2 is 3 minions after the first wave, 3 melee minions after the first wave, excuse me. And when you're about to hit level 2, you should look to fight. And then if the enemy bot lane doesn't know what's going on, they will actually fight you back. You hit level 2, you can actually do a lot of damage and or kill them. Now, everyone knows about level 2 nowadays, especially you guys. Hopefully you guys watching the video. But people don't know about level 3. And level 3 is the best way to bait the jungle because that's their default jungle gank timing. Unless you're Shaco, don't fuck with that guy. He will kill you before you hit level 3. So the level 3 timing is as you're pushing, right? You're pushing and you got level 2, the cannon wave comes in, you kill the cannon wave. The wave after the cannon comes in, the 3 melee minions after the cannon wave gives you level 3. That is when the jungle will gank. Do not be scared. Kill the melee minions as fast as possible. You will be level 3. The enemy bot lane will be level 2. Enemy jungle will be level 3. You guys can fight. 2v3 kiting. Okay? Do not be afraid. Get level 3. ASAP. And then you can fight. Okay, I have some examples to show you guys for level 3, but just do is essentially when you're pushing, just remember, play for the level 3. Very important. Play for the level 3. That is probably the easiest way to win lane nowadays, is because nobody knows about the level 3. Now, let's talk about the mid game. So the mid game is probably defined as after the laning phase, but before you have your item spikes. Item spikes being 3 items, minimum Lord Doms with level 13. That's probably the entrance of the late game. Mid game is after the laning phase, and that usually you're going to be mid or top. And what you want to do is you need to get every single wave possible in your lane. Okay, you are not a champion. I repeat, this champion is terrible. The only thing you can offer is a Q, and at this stage of the game, your Q does not really do that much. Unless you're like fed or something, right? Imagine queuing like a tank or like support that bought like armor or something. It's pretty ineffective, okay? So in the mid game, your goal is to get past this power trough as fast as possible, okay? So we're gonna use first strike with ulti on squishy targets to farm money. We're going to queue the wave. We're gonna clear the wave, every single wave mid before we move. It does not matter, no exceptions. Get the wave. You need to get to level 13. You need to have enough money for Infinity Edge. Get the wave. Okay. Once you get to level 13 and 3 items, then you can start maybe sacrificing a wave for a big play. But yes, you must clear the lane. Now, you must. One thing, effective thing you can do is play the lane like you play the mid game like you play lane. You are using your summoners and abilities to bait the enemy jungle and solos to show in your lane, then you've done a good job. Okay, just like you did in lane, you're wasting their time. Your goal is to waste their time because you are not very valuable at this stage of the game. You really can't do much. So you just push, the instant enemy jungle shows up, we just run away, and then we've won. Enemy jungle shows up on our screen, we've already won. You just need to live. Use Ghost, Flash, whatever you need to do. You can also do a bit of preparing beforehand. Let's say you know it is, let's say like a Talon. Let's say you know it's like a Talon jungle. Then you know that he's going to flip over the wall, prepare some traps, clear the minions. The instant he shows up, we're going to net trap ourselves and run to the tower. Right? Something like that. Or if it's an Eve, we put a pink ward down. If it's a Rengar, pink ward down. You know, whatever you need to do to survive. Do not be greedy with your sums. They exist for you to take as little damage as possible and bait out enemy jungle and solo roams. Okay? Play with the intention of clearing the wave and using sums to escape. That's what I want you guys to think. Okay? So no matter what happens, must always go back to clearing the wave. Fight happens in the river, I don't care. I clear the wave first and then I go help. And then once the fight is over, I immediately go back to clearing the mid wave. Okay? Very important. You can also practice stacking headshot off the wave. Your headshot is not strong yet, but it's a good habit to build right now. Is clear the wave, or auto attack the wave until you have headshot, and you can clear the wave with 1Q. And then that way you can roam to the fights with a headshot ready. And then if a fight does happen, God forbid, a fight happens near you, the only thing you can do is use W and E to try and get a big Q. Okay, if you miss Q, you're doing 0 damage in that fight. You must find a way to hit a fat Q. If you can just Q them, always take it on team ACC. Just immediately take it. It's already worth. Other than that, try not to die so you can pick up your waves, right? Now, the late game starts. When the late game starts, you need to start every fight with a headshot. No exception. You must start every fight with a headshot. Your headshot counter is like the only thing that matters, along with your net, so that you can outplay. And if you have to hit wards, if you have to hit creeps, if you have to hit chickens, if you have to hit camps or objectives or towers to get your headshot counter to 5, you do it. I want you to think your auto attacks do nothing. If you're auto attacking enemy champions, it's for the purpose of stacking headshot. Because why? Your auto attacks do nothing. Go and play this champion. Come back and report to me. Tell me you go auto attack some people without headshot. Tell me what it looks like. Okay? There have been literally mid laner with 200 HP, and I have like 2 items, and I'm auto attacking them, and it literally does nothing. I auto attack them twice, they don't die. It literally does nothing. Okay? You need to play around your headshot and your Q and your R. Okay? Now when you're in the late game, you stack headshot, and then you walk around and you just try and headshot the closest guy. There's an advanced idea where you can try and avoid the front line, so you can sprint into their back line and headshot a squishy. That's huge value. But when in doubt, just dump headshot on the closest guy and stack it back up again. Okay? And then once you are at this point where you have 3+ items and you're level 13 and you're stacking a headshot, you're entering every fight with a headshot. Every headshot is approaching lethal. So what I mean by that is, you know, before netting people is okay, kind of important. Now a net is a kill. Okay, netting forward sounds very illegal when net is a kill, right? When you can just look for a ghost forward, ghost blade forward, and then look for like an E flash. Every headshot is going to be lethal, okay? And on trap, you're going to Q first. So anytime they step on a trap, Q first headshot, that's a kill. Anytime you can E flash a squishy with EW combo or EQ combo, that's going to be a kill, right? That's going to be a kill. Any E flash Q is going to be a kill. Ulti does 70% of a squishy's health. That's going to be a kill, right? So basically it's, you're going to run it, just basically default pattern is to just stack headshot when you don't have it. And then look to hit someone with net and traps. Okay, fight breaks out, you're just going to put traps on concave angles that where you guys are fighting. And you're just going to look for fat headshots. And don't worry about your Q. The Q is kind of whatever. It does do damage, but it's very slow and it stuns yourself. So usually we only combo Q with trap or net at this point of the game. Unless they have no vision of you, you can Q them out of the bush. All right, the rest of the video is probably just going to be some late game examples that I can voice over, and I can walk it through you guys what the build is supposed to look like when you have the items. Okay, so for this first fight, we just start out with headshot. We're going to trap ourselves and try and bait enemy engage. And then the instant, we're going to use EW combo the convex angle. And when someone's trapped, we're going to Q them. And then once you're out of juice, basically when you're out of net, you need to kite until your net is back up. You see me just running until I Q on CC, but we're just running until net is back up. And then we just use net again. Kind of important to make sure you have net. If you don't, just run. This second fight is pretty much, I lose net early again. And so if you have no net, we're just trying to do something like just building a wall and hope they run into it. If they didn't run into it, we would have to wait until our nuke cooldown before we approach again. But that's pretty much, it's a pretty basic team fight. They end up sprinting into our wall. And then after that, you can run forward and just hit the closest guy. The fight is so over. But that's pretty much the two basic team fights I have for you guys. Okay, thank you for watching this guide. If you watched the whole thing, I appreciate you. And if you guys want to see more content like this, definitely let me know in the comments below. Do that whole thing, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. And it would mean a lot to me if you guys would stop by the stream and say you guys watched it or you enjoyed it, or if you hated it, you know, tell me on stream too. I'm building my YouTube this year in order to feed into the stream. So if you guys want to see me make these videos live, or you have ideas for videos you want to see in the future, stream is probably the best way to get my attention. But yeah, hopefully this helped. And at least if it didn't help, then just write some hate comments, okay? Anyways, thank you for watching. I will see you guys next time. Peace.